Hey there, it's Amanda here, Creative Gardener. Now, I'm not sure whether I did a video of these plants. I don't think I did. They started growing. If you've seen any of the other videos, you know that this is an area under the house that is yet to be developed. But what started, or what I noticed, was these ferns starting to grow and under here, and I tried to move a couple of them, but they died. And what I realize is they actually prefer well, the ones over here get less sunlight and are growing really well, so that means that they must grow really well in a shaded environment. So what I need to do is look at the way that the garden is situated and see where I've got a spot that is in constant shade, and then move these into that area. And they're growing really well over here compared to the ones that are, these will probably get say 4 hours of the afternoon sun, and as we get further and further down into this space, these ones from, I guess, here, that's where it stops in terms of they still get sunlight, but they're not too happy. But the ones that don't get any sunlight are like, happy as Larry. So the plan for these is to move them, as I said, into a more shaded area, to a shaded spot in the garden, so we can actually see them. Because what's going to happen is, once we start work under here, all of this is going to be killed off. So I might as well, secure them. And it's another plant that I've still got to find out what type of fern they are. I'm not sure yet. And whether, what kind of properties they have. No, you wouldn't have seen this because it wasn't on I didn't do this as part of the 31 plants in my garden. So I don't know what this is called. I'm still having to find out. And I'm curious to how big they grow if you start to feed it. So they've not had any food whatsoever in terms of nutrients. They've only had this stuff. It's like lime. It's called what's it called? It's the stuff that you lay down. So as the water falls, this comes down and this fills up with water. So we've got about 2 inches. So they don't mind the water, and they like shade, and they like the heat. So, there must be spaces over here where this will thrive. Unfortunately, this is not unfortunately, it's fortunate, but the front, which looks like the front of on the other side, the easterly side of the house, that gets the morning sunshine, and then the rest of the time it's in shade. So there isn't really a spot in this area that is entirely in shade, just thinking about it. So it might have to be they're in pots and you move them around dependent on the type of shade. Or, as I said, it might be the kind of plant that it's okay for a few hours of shade, but with the rest of the day in shade. So then the front of our house is going to be the spot that it might thrive in. So I've just really got to experiment, and I'll experiment with some of the not so bigger plants we can see here. But this is supposed to be like a makeshift greenhouse that I've still got to build. I was finding all the, sorry, off topic here, was finding all the pieces. So I've got the frame and the sides, and I've just got to look at putting it together, finding the spot of where it's going to go. Anyway, so yeah, it's funny to well, what I've been doing is allowing, you know, getting to know the land, and you have to get to know the space that you're in. I mean, we've had to do a lot of weeding, and unfortunately this area is covered in weeds, so I've got to recover them with the black plastic. But what I've been doing is kind of just keeping a note on what's been growing, and then if I'm able to move it and grow it in a different spot. I need to get rid of these, because these things, they attach themselves to you and they're really quite sharp. So yeah, I'll have to come down here and just make sure that the stuff that I really don't want, I've got rid of. But yeah, I never planted any of this. And look, we've got an abundance of these plants, and it's just so well that, you know, we don't have to use this area. But it does, if we go to the back, it grows in the, you know, in all places. It's spread. So you can spread down here, and then we've got some at the back here, and it's like, you know, not total darkness, but, you know, a lot less light. So we know that it likes shade. So the optimum ones, the optimum health ones, are over there, and we've got some here. So it really loves the shade, and it doesn't do well. So it doesn't do well with the afternoon sunlight. So that's what this is telling us. This bit would get the most. That's what it's telling me. Yeah. It doesn't do well with afternoon sunlight, so I can't put it in a place where I can't put it anywhere around here, which, you know, from 1 till 6 it's in the sun. So yeah, so I'm pleased at finding a plant that I didn't have to buy it, and I'll go around and look at some of these other what looks like weeds and see what other, you know, interesting plants are growing or their medicinal benefits. Because even that particular one that I'm going to take up, I mean, the way that it attaches itself is once the flower's gone, they're kind of like little tiny spiky balls, and they attach to fur, to anything, any clothing. And if they catch you on your skin, it kind of really scratches you. But there may be some medicinal properties in this particular plant, so I'm just going to be mindful with that. And then some of these, you know, they just look, you know, like daisies, and, you know, in the leaves it could be of the same family and could have, you know, interesting properties. And then with another, this one, I don't let it touch my hand. I've cut it back, but it's, you know, the same. It's got these are the flowers, and they're kind of airborne, the wind, airborne. And then this seems to grow. It's got very shallow roots, but, you know, it's actually quite pretty. But I don't know, there's no smell coming from it. But again, you know, it might be one that is worth keeping and putting it in an area that, you know, it's not going to spread too much. Here's another one. This particular, it's a grass, but it grows like it spreads like that. So, you know, if it was in the right place, it'd be fine. And it's, you know, very, dense, but it's slow growing, so maybe in the right place all of these things wouldn't be an issue, you know. And this is the seeds. So if you wanted grass to grow, you would, you know, all of this was like I can't remember what this thing's called. All of this was that, and just over time, you know, because of the rain, it was like raining constantly, and I guess this is what was here before. And then we've got the elephant grass, which they grow in clumps, and I find them really good. I cut them. See, I don't mind these growing, because what I do is I cut them and then I would just, when I want to kind of chop and drop, I cut close to the edge and then I'll use that on the beds. So I've been doing that a lot. And then there's another kind of weed that has these pink flowers, and again, I'm sure there's some sort of property that they have. You know, I think all plants have some use. We've just got to identify them and, you know, again, decide whether they're useful to us. But I'm pleased about this, because I like ferns, but I just want to make sure that it's looked after and that they grow, and I want to see them grow really large. You know, I guess everything in the tropics is kind of like really big. Well, that's the idea anyway. And even there's another plant here. Now it's another grass, but the leaves, I like the leaves are silky. Let's look at the seeds. It's some sort of grass, but you know, again, I'm not familiar with it. I'm not familiar with this one. I've not seen it anywhere else but under here. You know, maybe there's some other life forms under here as well. Anyway, I'm going to leave it here for now, and I will be back with another plant update. Here's another one that I chopped off. I broke off some. I didn't want to go too far because I didn't have my gloves, so I'm gonna need to cut that. Look, what's that down there? So I guess this video is about. See, this is growing. I don't know what this is. It might be the clamor cherry tree, because there was we've got a clamor cherry tree that we don't know if it had what do you call it? Had any seeds and fruit. So I'll probably just move it. I'll move it somewhere else. It can grow somewhere else. What I do is, if I find that there are things that are going to be growing as trees, so we've got quite a few that are growing under here, and they've either, so there's one there, there's one there, climber cherry tree, there's one there. So we've got a few that I've tried to move a couple, but it didn't work. I've got a neem tree growing under there I need to move, but what happened is it didn't like being in the direct sunlight so soon, so I'll probably have to put it in a pot and let it grow a bit more before, and then, you know, harden it off. But yeah, again, learning as we go along. So I'm pleased with finding the ferns, and this might be a spot that the ferns will grow really well, but the Cole, the puppy, loves to run around and around in here. So even my the aloe vera babies that I planted here and that were growing well, it's just like because he uses it like a race course, he damages the leaves, so I'm going to have to move them. But finding a shady spot where they can grow is the next task. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. So please join me for another update soon.